wherever we are at, no matter what job we have, whether you're a parent or whether you're in school or whether you're retired, that our identity as Christians is to be a light in that. And that is what being a full-time Christian looks like.
Welcome to the Children of Light podcast. In this first episode, Hursty and I sit down to talk about Children of Light, how it came to be, and our vision for what it could become. We hope you enjoy the episode.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first episode of the Children of Light podcast. I am Daniel Hurst. I go by Hursty.
And I'm Daniel Somerville, and I go by Dan. Welcome to the first ever episode. We're very excited to be starting this new venture. It's been a long time coming, and there's been a lot of planning and a lot of thought that's gone into it.
Yeah, that's it. So in this first episode, we just sort of wanted to flesh out sort of why we started this podcast and, you know, what we want to build in this community and the space of Children of Light. We've already been doing some worship nights, but that's just one aspect of the sort of community we want to build. And yeah, just sort of talk about who we are and why we began.
Yeah, so how about we start with you, Hursty? Do you want to speak a little bit about your background? Like, what do you do and what brought you to Children of Light?
Yeah, well, I do graphic designs. I work as a freelancer, so I work for myself. And I've been doing that since I graduated high school, which was 5 years ago. And so that has always been a passion. So I've known from the youngest age that creativity has always been my thing. I was always the art kid growing up in school. In primary school, I do sketches and drawings. I draw guys from Star Wars and do graffiti art and canvases. And then in high school, I did every creative avenue I could find. So oil painting, music, graphic design, everything like that. And so, yeah, that's always been my passion.
Creative powerhouse.
Yeah, I've always loved it. And God's blessed me with the opportunity to be able to turn that into a career. So it doesn't really feel like work, but I do graphic design and creative things for businesses and whatnot. And yeah, I am married to my lovely wife, and we go on lots of adventures, and we both do creative things together. And we're both learning a lot about the balance between working as a freelancer and just living life. But yeah, feels like a very God-driven thing in our lives, is us being able to work creatively as freelancers. So yeah, it's been a good few years. This has been my first 6 months or so doing it full time. So lots of learning. But part of I guess my journey is wanting to use this creativity and this passion not just for business, but to use it to further the kingdom and to honor God with it. And so this podcast is just a direct link to that. So I want to be able to create something that is for the sole purpose of glorifying God and furthering the kingdom with my creativity. And I'm excited to be able to have a space to do that. And so that's why we do our worship nights.
Yeah,
and
they've been really good.
Yeah, hopefully, use the photography and design skills just to like build a community of young adults like us. It's a little bit about me.
So good. So for me, I am studying town planning at the moment. I'm about to go into my third year. I also do photography on the side, which is my main creative outlet. I've always been a very creative person growing up. I did a lot of photography growing up, and I was lucky enough to have some really good mentors from my uncle or friends of my older siblings who sort of coached me through that. But yeah, my journey to town planning was a little bit less straightforward. I actually started with architecture when I graduated school, which was nearly 4 years ago, and quickly realized that architecture was not for me as much as I did enjoy the design stuff. It was just a very intense kind of program. I mean, it's 7 years to become a fully qualified architect, and I wasn't quite up to that. But I kind of had a little hiatus in the middle where I was wanting to serve the kingdom, but I was unsure of how to do that. So I was considering like being a pastor or a missionary, or not super seriously, but I was like, oh, I've got to do something, right? But I did want to go back to uni, so I did end up signing up for town planning, which is similar field to architecture, but a little bit more people focused and a bit more big scale, which I am really enjoying. So my vision for the podcast kind of came about because with that indecision that was happening between degrees, I think there was a real lack of information about what you could do to serve God's kingdom within your career. Often you hear like, oh, if you want to do that, you become like a YWAMer, or you do something specifically about that. Whereas now in hindsight, I think it's really important that we do have people across all different fields, whether that be architects or graphic designers, photographers, engineers, electricians, like the whole spectrum, because I think it's really important to have Christians in those spaces, because there's also non-Christians in those spaces, and how are they supposed to hear the good news if they don't have people around them to guide them? So that kind of led me towards this podcast idea, and then it just so happened that Hursty had very similar ideas. So
Yeah, well, when you come to me with this idea, it really, really spoke to me because I was on a similar thought plane, I guess. So graphic design is my passion, and I'm wanting to make it a career, obviously. But it does feel like, oh, but if I was fully going to commit to serving God, I would become a missionary or a youth pastor or do something radical
it's like a
that.
professional Christian, hey?
Yeah, I'm like, if you really want to go all in, you become a professional Christian.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like you have a job and you serve God. It's like, oh, you really just commit to just serving God.
Yeah,
And I think there's definitely a place for that, and definitely people are called to that.
absolutely.
And maybe one day I would be too. I'm totally open for that. But at this stage, it's like God seems to be blessing me in what I'm doing. And so it's not like I need to just throw it all away and throw away my passion and my dreams just to really fully serve God. It's like, I actually know He calls us just to live a lifestyle of being a light into where we're at. And so that is part of where the Children of Light came from.
Yeah.
Is wherever we are at, no matter what job we have, whether you're a parent or whether you're in school or whether you're retired, that our identity as Christians is to be a light in that. And that is what being a full-time Christian looks like. So someone who is a tradie is just as much a light as someone who decides to be a missionary in China.
Yeah.
So like God calls us to do all of them, and one is not more of a Christian than the other. And when you were sort of explaining this sort of realization you were having, that was really resonated with me too. And God had given me this picture of a community which is called Children of Light, which I'd sort of forgotten about because it was quite a few years ago. But it was this vision of us having like a community of young adults, which their identity was as like children, like all children together, and then being a light. And then I like went and looked it up in the Bible, and Children of Light is everywhere, which is so cool because like I didn't really know that. Like I sort of found out it was biblical later on after I'd sort of had this picture. And so that was really cool to be able to align like our mission with something that's really biblical that God sort of give us the vision of.
I think it's a really good time to be exploring this kind of space, and the whole idea of it is to just encourage those Christians wherever they are at in their careers or their lives. But there's just so much like heaviness in the world, and so many distractions as well, especially with social media and that telling you all sorts of things like you should do this or you should do this. But to really rein in your identity and bring it back to what really matters, which is to serve God and to serve others as well with the heart of God.
Yeah. I would say that's the key core value that we're basing everything from is how can we serve God with the passions and the dreams and the gifts that he's given us wherever we're at. And so I love talking to people about this, and it's going to be a core part of our content, just discussing with people what their passions and dreams are and how they're honoring God in that.
Yeah.
So whether it's ranging from being a tradie to being a musician to being
an athlete,
like we can serve God in every single aspect of our lives, just with the community around us, to the community around us. And so, that's the key part of what we're doing.
Yeah, so shall we speak a bit more about the vision for this, the podcast, and what that's going to look like even beyond that?
Well, we have a long list of people that we want to talk about this topic.
Very exciting guests.
Yeah, we have some great guests that we want to get to know and hear their story. Hear their story first and foremost, but also just challenge them and challenge everyone who's listening to really have a good long think about how we can be intentionally a light in our situation, which I think is a big part of being Christian.
Yeah, so we're going to be interviewing all sorts of people from, as we said, like engineers, creative, freelancers, athletes, writers, all sorts of people, wherever they're at, with the view to encourage. I think the tagline that I came up with originally was stories and resources to encourage the everyday Christian, which I think is really, really encapsulates what we're going for, is to encourage just the everyday layman.
Another thing that I would really love to do soon or in the future is to not just build an online community, but to actually meet in person and worship in person and get to broaden...
Exchange stories.
Yeah, exchange stories and broaden the community.
Because you can learn so much from each other. And I know, me personally, I've learned so much about living out your faith from people who are doing totally different things to me, or at totally different stages of life. I think there's a real value in coming together and hearing from people who are very different from you, because otherwise it can become a bit of an echo chamber.
And Christians meeting together, that we all meet together knowing that we have the same identity, which is being a child of light.
Yeah.
Like we are all on our own journey, but we're all the same. So like we're all at different stages of life, but at the end of the day, we're all God's children, and we're all called to be a light wherever we're at. And that's super powerful, because someone who is 70 has the same mission as someone who's 12.
Yeah.
Like whoever they're around, they want to treat them well and be a light to them. So I really love that. And that's a big part of telling your testimony and imparting wisdom.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be a lot of what our interviews will be, is kind of centering around testimony and it's just exploring how faith plays out. But even beyond the podcast, like we've got, as Hursty said, we've been doing the worship nights. We're hoping to do them maybe a little bit more regularly. But I think like one thing that I've identified as really important to my heart for this space is just having the spirit of hospitality, even in the online space, or whether it turns into something in person eventually. But the whole idea of this is that people could come into Children of Light, whether that be tuning into a podcast or coming to a worship night, from wherever they're at, just to be met with this sense of hospitality and welcoming. With the podcast, like when you tune in, I'd love it to feel like you're just sitting down with a group of friends and having a cuppa. I think that's a really important aspect that we're wanting to convey. So, and then who knows, one day we might have a place in real life where we can actually host people, have events. That is a long way down the track, but we'll see what God does with it.
Yeah, the ultimate goal is just to build connections.
Mm.
We're never called to do this Christian walk alone. We're meant to do it with a community that can support us and friends that love us. And so we're wanting to build a lot of that, whether it is just online and phone calls or in person as well. So that, we'll have many different forms, but it's the key thing overarching all aspects of what we want to create.
So I think the key to the success of this podcast will be audience input. So we'd love to hear what you guys are looking for. If you have any people you'd love to be interviewed, or if you'd like to be interviewed, we'd love to hear from you. You can reach out over our Instagram, or we have an email address as well, which I'll link in the bio.
We have it all figured out.
We don't have it all figured out. It's going to be a journey to figuring out what works and what doesn't.
But we know that God's given us a vision to do this. And so we're just doing it, and we're just wanting to honor what He's given us in it. So that's the goal.
And we'd love to have you along for the ride.
That's it.
Stay tuned for our first episode, which should be coming out very soon.
That's right.
And we look forward to hearing from you as well.
All right. See ya.
Bless you guys. Friends, thank you so much for listening to this episode. We hope it gave you an idea of what we're trying to create here at Children of Light. We'd also love to thank our friends Callan and Yaz Brown for the use of the Garden song for our podcast. You can find the full, non-instrumental version wherever you listen to music, and we have linked both Yaz and Callan's music below for you to discover for yourself. Bless you guys.